It was a cold winter night, and the apartment building was eerily silent except for the occasional creak of the old wooden floorboards. A mother and her young daughter lived in a small, cozy apartment on the third floor. That night, the daughter was fast asleep in her room, but something woke her up, a faint shuffling sound coming from outside her bedroom. At first, she thought it was her mother, but the shadow moving under the door didn't match her figure. The girl froze in fear. She lay perfectly still, clutching her blanket, listening as the sound of the creaking floor grew louder. Whoever it was, they were moving toward her room. Suddenly, the shadow stopped, and the door handle turned slowly. Just as the door began to open, the mother appeared out of nowhere, shouting and slamming the door shut. The intruder ran off into the night. A week later, while cleaning the house, the mother found something chilling. In the back of the hall closet, hidden behind some coats, was a small notebook and a pair of gloves. The notebook contained disturbing sketches and notes about the mother and daughter, their daily routines, what they wore, and even what time they went to bed. It became horrifyingly clear that the intruder had been watching them for weeks, perhaps even hiding in their home without them knowing. The holiday season was a time of joy and laughter for the Johnson family. Every year, they would gather to decorate the Christmas tree, bake cookies, and sing carols. But one year, their festive celebrations turned into a nightmare. The family had a distant relative, Clara, who struggled with severe mental health issues. Although Clara's behavior had been unpredictable in the past, no one ever imagined she would be a danger to anyone. On Christmas Eve, Clara unexpectedly showed up at the family's doorstep, claiming she wanted to see the youngest daughter, Emily, who was only 7 years old. The family welcomed her inside, thinking it was just a friendly visit. But later that evening, Clara's behavior became increasingly erratic. She muttered under her breath and seemed fixated on Emily, staring at her with unsettling intensity. The family decided it would be best for Clara to leave, but before they could act, the unthinkable happened. Clara attacked Emily, leaving the family in shock and grief. Emily's death left a scar on the Johnson family that no amount of time could heal. To this day, they avoid speaking about that fateful Christmas, and their once joyous traditions have been replaced with somber reflection. Jake and Sarah were siblings who shared a love for scary stories, but nothing could prepare them for the real-life horror they would experience one fateful night. Their parents had gone out for the evening, leaving the teenagers home alone. Around midnight, Sarah was watching TV in the living room while Jake was upstairs in his room. Suddenly, Sarah heard a man's voice calling her name from the hallway. At first, she thought it was Jake playing a prank on her, but when she called out to him, Jake shouted back from his room upstairs, "What do you want?" Sarah froze. The voice came again, louder this time, from just outside the living room. "Sarah, come here." But when she looked toward the hallway, it was empty. Jake, now panicked, ran downstairs to check on her. They both searched the entire house, turning on every light and checking every corner, but they found nothing. The voice was never heard again, but both siblings remain haunted by that night. They often wonder if someone had broken into the house or if it was something far more sinister. It was past midnight when 16-year-old Mia heard a light tap on the front door. She thought it was odd, as her neighborhood was usually quiet at that hour. Peeking through the peephole, she saw something that sent chills down her spine. A tall figure stood on the porch, illuminated by the dim glow of the street lamp. But the way the figure moved was unsettling, swaying side to side in an almost rhythmic, dancing motion. It wasn't a dance of joy but something unnatural, as though the person were struggling to maintain balance. Terrified, Mia backed away from the door, but the tapping continued, growing louder and more insistent. She called her parents, who were out of town, and they urged her to lock all the doors and call the police. By the time the authorities arrived, the figure was gone. The police assured her it was probably just a drunk person, but Mia couldn't shake the feeling that it was something far darker. She later learned that a neighbor down the street had seen a similar figure outside their home the same night. Emma and her little brother, Noah, were home alone one rainy evening when they heard a loud banging on the front door. At first, they thought it was the wind, but the sound was too deliberate, too forceful. When Emma peeked through the curtains, she saw a man standing on the porch. His face obscured by the hood of his rain-soaked jacket. The man tried the door handle, jiggling it violently. Emma quickly grabbed her phone and called their parents, who told her to lock all the doors and windows. Just as Emma finished locking the back door, she heard the sound of it rattling. The man had moved to the back of the house. Emma and Noah hid in a closet, holding their breath as the man circled the house, trying every door and window. Minutes felt like hours until finally, they heard the sound of police sirens. The intruder fled, and the siblings were left shaken but unharmed.